In today's video, we're going to talk about why we changed our concealed weapons class from over 4 hours to under 2. My name is Benjamin Carpenter, and today I'm going to talk to you about why I made the decision to change our concealed weapons class from over 4 hours to under 2. We're going to talk about what parts we removed and what parts we decided to keep, and I'll explain to you briefly why we made those choices. Throughout this video, I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to keep your students engaged, and at the end of this video, I'm going to give you 1 major tip on how to keep them coming back for more training. Let's get into it. I've been teaching public concealed weapons classes for nearly a decade. I can probably teach them in my sleep. But if you're a new instructor, you were probably wondering how to make an outline, what to include in that outline, and you're trying to figure out what's required by law in your state for you to actually teach people. The states are all different, but one thing that they mostly have in common is a requirement for classroom and shooting range time. It's common that the NRA basic pistol class meets most requirements for most of the states in order to obtain your concealed weapons permit. But is that class really what you want to teach your students? Or is it really what your students need to know? The NRA basic pistol course is fantastic, but in our opinion, it doesn't really cover all the topics that the students need to learn. Check the link in the description of this video for the outline that we publish for the public. In our state, we can control what we teach the students. Our state requires that a certified instructor teach and that they have live fire. But outside of those 2 requirements, we're pretty much open to teach whatever we want. Just like many of you, when I developed the initial concealed carry outline for Kanawha Valley Tactical nearly 10 years ago, it was 6 pages and nearly 4 hours long without live fire. In that outline, we went over parts of a firearm, grip, stance, and so much more. And here's what we learned. If you taught people about firearms first, then they were mentally burnt out or just bored by the time you got to the laws that applied to their state. So in the NRA example, they would get hours of useful information on using a firearm. But when it came time to learn about use of force, they were bored, mentally exhausted, and had already tuned out. So we did this. Tip number 1 for new instructors. Put all the legal use of force, no carry zones, the boring stuff, at the beginning of the course. Seriously, this is the important stuff. You want people to be fresh and paying attention to this part. After that, you can transition into anything you want, including the basic pistol knowledge. But at least they will leave the course remembering where they can and cannot take a firearm, even if they tuned out during the operation of a magazine spring. But then we got to thinking, what if we never let our students not engage in conversation? This led us to form the company known as GRIP. Myself and a business partner at the time decided that great responsibility in protection was a foundation that we needed to start focusing on when we taught concealed weapons classes. If we made sure that people knew what they were responsible for during a self-defense situation, then they would naturally ask questions and they would change their outlook on the professionalism of carrying a firearm. So we did this. Instructor tip number 2. Ask a random student in the classroom what their name is and what they do for a living. Do not expect them to speak up or volunteer the information. Call them out during your outline. When you're going over a specific part of your course, ask them, what's your name? What do you do for a living? And then use a relevant example for the part of the outline that you're on to apply to their personal situation. For example, John, imagine that you're leaving work at the convenience store and someone attempts to harm you. Do you feel confident enough that your abilities will allow you to not only defend yourself, but to limit the damage that you do to people's vehicles or pedestrians around you in the parking lot for that convenience store? This is where we would make mention of civil liability. And just like in our class, in the description of this video, you can find links to the USCCA to get more information. Your student will answer you. Other students will ask questions about their employment risk. And you will begin to engage with your entire class on a personal level. Keep training firearms, such as blue guns or airsoft guns, in the classroom, and encourage your students to try the 21-foot drill, to role play with someone asking for change and then becoming aggressive, or something else that's relevant to your group of people for that specific class. Creating engaging conversations that are simple to answer, like yes or no, can easily lead to follow-up questions that allow you to understand if your students are grasping the concepts in which you are teaching. Let's go back to our example with John in the convenience store. If John says yes, he is confident in his abilities, then we may put a wager on the table. We may offer a free follow-up class in exchange for John offering not to get a certificate out of this class if he's willing to put his skills to the test. Maybe we have him run the 21-foot drill and try to do it successfully, or maybe we have him try to shoot a small grouping at center mass when we do live firing while putting him under some kind of stressful scenario. It doesn't matter what we do or what we offer. Maybe we offer John a free shirt from our merchandise counter, but anything will allow more personal engagement. It is this type of engagement that we found works best for allowing the students to retain the most information. John's buddies will never let him live down bragging in a concealed weapons class and then choking at the last minute, but they will both remember the point that was made. They will both remember that they need to train to fit their individual lifestyles. John, in this example, needs to train to be in public places because he works around the public daily. And then we noticed something. Students were using our training guns in class and working on grip and stance, but when they got a real firearm in their hand, they lost all perception of what they had learned. We couldn't figure it out. Dozens of repetitions in the classroom and they would still get on the range and put their thumbs in the wrong position. And then it hit us. Stop. Just stop. 50% of our students were only there so that they could obtain a certificate. They were only there so that they could conceal their weapon on vacation at the beach. And ultimately, they were only there because the law told them they had to be there. So what do? We decided that we would give them tips. So we would show them that they can be better, but we don't bore them. 20% of the students in our class had shot before, but only once or twice. They knew how to hold the gun, they knew the basics of aiming, but they were there mostly to learn the law. They wanted to learn what they could and could not do, and they might not ever carry a firearm after leaving the class. 30% of the class that had never fired a firearm of any kind. So they were there, absolutely no idea what they were doing. So we did this. Instructor tip number 3. We stopped all grip and stance training in the classroom, and we developed a form that we use for every student to fill out at the beginning of class. This makes them self-rate their skills on a level of 1 to 5. We would also ask them if they carpooled with anyone. You can find a link to that form in the description of this video. We use this paper to figure out who shoots first and who shoots last. Confident shooters shoot first. They get a few tips and then they go on and see our secondary trainer for their paperwork and to ask any follow-up questions. Middle tier shooters, the ones that rate themselves between a 2 and a 3 on the scale, they may need some help with stance or grip, but they understand the basic aiming fundamentals. Maybe they need to break some bad habits. The self-rated shooters who score themselves 2 or under shoot last. Everyone is gone, everyone is done, there's no crowds, there's no pressure. These students can get one-on-one help for as long as they need. This shooter may still have a 3-hour or 4-hour class, but they don't care to wait because it helps them. And we're not staying any longer than we used to stay because of the changes that we made throughout the course and because we're letting the good shooters lead. Give your students one-on-one attention and even offer quick tips to the shooters who do not necessarily feel like they need them. That's it. That's how we went from over a 4-hour CCW course to under 2 hours for most students. We live in a state that recognizes permitless carry, or constitutional carry, whichever you would like to call it. Our state also offers a $50 tax credit for anyone that seeks training. A 2-hour course is better than no course at all from a public safety viewpoint. But these concepts can be used in most states regardless of what the qualifications are for you to train your student. Rearrange how you teach. Keep the students engaged and give the shooters who need help extra help, but don't punish the good shooters. Are you a new instructor? Leave a comment below and let us know some of your challenges in developing course outlines for your classes. Subscribe to our channel for more tips, reviews, and information. How do you keep your students coming back for more training? Here's a pro tip. Throughout the course, encourage students to question their own ability. Assure them that self-defense shooting is not like static target shooting. Show off some examples, like explaining how bullets go through walls in real life. They don't stop like in the movies. Show off some of your skills to the students when giving examples. Then, by using affiliates, blogs, videos, or anything else at your disposal, social media can keep you engaged with your students and keep your students engaged with your content. If you study social media marketing, you'll understand that you can only advertise to students who have been to class, been on your website, and even interacted with your actual events. Retargeting your students with valuable information is the key to keeping them engaged and coming back. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and share our content.